Yes, good evening, everyone. Happy weekend, and thank you for joining us in this edition of the training. This is our day 4 of the free professional diploma training course that has been going on for the past 30 days. And today is the fourth day, and we are looking at peace and sustainable development. Peace and Sustainable Development. This is a free 1 month professional diploma training provided by the Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management to empower people around the world with the knowledge of peace and conflict resolution so that they can be able to take steps to promote peace in our communities. Ours is a passion to empower people with knowledge, with the necessary skills to be able to mediate, intervene, and negotiate to make sure that conflicts are being resolved amicably. So that is our passion and this is our goal. And that's why we're providing this training for free. And we thank you all that have been consistent in participation. We appreciate you. It is because you have chosen to participate that we are doing the training. If you have not been joining, maybe you wouldn't have been here, but you kept joining, and so therefore we are progressing, and the message is getting to people, it's getting across. So I want to sincerely appreciate you for taking time to be part of today's training as well, and we believe that at the end of it all, you will count it rewarding and worthwhile. My name is Davide Joshua. I am the registrar of the Institute of Global Peace and Conflict Management. And in this place, we are doing great exploit, and we want you to be part of it. So thank you for being part of the training. We appreciate you. So today, as you join the meeting, try to put it on your wall, inviting someone to be a part of the meeting. Encourage them to also take part in this training and benefit immensely from it. Make it known to them that it's a free training. They are not paying a dime to get the knowledge. So let them come and be part of it, and they will appreciate it at the end of the day. So thank you very much. We appreciate all of you and your commitment to this training. So we have finished module 1 and we are going into module 2. And in module 2, we are going to look at conflict analysis tools. Conflict analysis or tools. Conflict analysis and resolution. Conflict analysis and resolution. All right? Conflict analysis and resolution. I hope you can hear me. Conflict analysis and resolution. So for you to be able to resolve conflict and achieve any form of resolution, and also maybe to resolve the conflict effectively, you must carry out what we call conflict analysis. It's when you conduct conflict analysis that it reveals to you what is the conflict entails. You cannot be able to address any conflict you have no knowledge of. How it started, the history of the conflict, the parties involved, and the issues in contention. If you do not carry out the analysis, you just be assuming. Your conclusion will be on assumption. Your opinions will be on assumption. And of course, your effort and your result will be assumable. Do you understand? So that is what it is. So, but for you to be able to resolve conflict effectively, one thing you need to do is to carry out conflict analysis. Why is the conflict? because there are questions you need to ask. For how long has this conflict been existing? What is the cause of the conflict? Who are the parties involved in the conflict? Why are we having conflict? And so many questions will be asked in the course of conducting conflict analysis. And so that's why conflict analysis is quite important. So whenever you have a misunderstanding, whenever there is a case for you that is bordered on conflict, don't just go there and begin to give opinion. Ask questions. Ask questions to find out what is the problem, to identify the root cause of the problem. Only then that you can be able to offer solutions to the problem. Only then that you can be able to mediate and facilitate the resolution of the conflict. If you are not asking questions, I can assure you that you will not be able to get answers. Only when you ask questions that you get answers. And that's what conflict analysis helps you to do, to ask questions and get answers, and of course, know and then develop a strategy to resolve the conflict. So, we'll be looking at conflict analysis tool in Unit 1. In Unit 1, we are going to look at conflict analysis tool. But before we look at conflict analysis tool, what is conflict analysis? Because maybe I've explained like this, but maybe people will still not understand what conflict analysis is. So, what is conflict analysis? Conflict analysis is a process which examines and unravels the root causes, dynamics, issues, and other fundamentals of conflict through the use of various perspective mechanisms for our better understanding of the conflict. When we say through the use of, you know, various perspective mechanism, that means through the use of various conflict analysis tools. Those tools help us to examine and unravel the causes, the dynamics, the issues, and the other fundamental aspects of the conflict. Right? So when you carry out this analysis, it helps you to have a better understanding of the conflict. And what does this understanding of the conflict does for you? This understanding of the conflict affords you an opportunity to develop a strategy or strategies and actions for possible termination and resolution of the conflict. So that's what that understanding is helping you to achieve. So when you conduct conflict analysis, you know. And when you know, it helps you to do what? It helps you to take steps, take actions that can produce results, meaningful results, so to say. So conflict analysis answers questions on the background and history of conflict situation. Conflict analysis answers questions on the background and history of conflict situation, identifying parties to the dispute. Do you understand? So this analysis will help you to understand the background, the history of the conflict. It will also help you to identify the parties to the conflict. Do you understand? It also identifies the cultural background of the parties' relationship, as well as factors responsible for such conflict and the trends of the conflict, whether the conflict is, you know, a, you know, it's a kind of conflict that comes and goes, and and when it comes again, it comes with different dimension, and so all of those. So they will help you. Conflict analysis will help you to have this deeper understanding of the conflict. and some of the related powers or related powers of the parties. This is what conflict analysis help you to do. All right. So, but there's something you need to know before you conduct conflict analysis. Before you carry out conflict analysis, there are certain things that you need to put into consideration. And what are those things? You first and foremost consider the history, or let's take it to be the stages of conflict analysis. Before we talk about the tools, the conflict analysis tools, let's look at some of the stages that you can follow to carry out conflict analysis. One is the history of the conflict. Okay, so you have to consider some of those significant changes or events that have taken place between these disputants, right? Consider if the conflict has, you know, been in existence before it just started. And so you ask questions that will help you to understand the history of the conflict, context. Then you are going to examine the conflict in a particular environment, in a particular issue. The contextual nature of the conflict is what you are going to also look at. Then you look at the primary parties to the conflict. The primary parties to the conflict. Who are the primary, who are at the forefront of this conflict? Who are the people responsible for what is going on? The main characters, so to say, in literature. In literature, we have those, I will call them the main characters, right? So, who are the main characters to the conflict? So, you identify them. And after you identify them, you also identify the power at play in the conflict. You would like to know how much power each party weighs. Do you understand? Because power determines the outcome of the conflict. You see the conflict that is going on in the Middle East. I think there's issue of power issue, right? You can see between Israel and Iran. Some of them are, are nothing to compare to Israel. The only country that can serve as a threat to Israel is the Iran, right? And Iran too is also just doing because there's a backing of Russia, and of course Israel also is misbehaving because of the backing of the US and other Western countries. Do you understand? So there's the issue of we'll talk about that anyway. We are going to look at conflict when we are talking about the tools of conflict analysis. We'll look at conflict mapping. So we'll discuss some of these things I have just mentioned here, all the allies and all of that. You get to know all of that, how these things work. Do you understand? So the power at play, you also have to know how much power each party wears. The other parties and stakeholders. Who are the other parties and the stakeholders involved in this conflict? Apart from the main characters you have identified, who is also has interest in this conflict? In the conflict that is going on between the terrorist groups in the Middle East, who are the people interested in the subsisting of that conflict? Who are the interests? Who are those that have interest? This may not be the primary parties. The primary parties may be Israel and Hezbollah and the Hamas. Do you understand? And the Houthis. Do you understand? These are the primary parties. But who is that is interested in this conflict? Iran, America, and other allies. So, so are the stakeholders we're talking about. So you have to also identify these people, all right, when you want to carry out conflict analysis. Then you look at the issue, the issue. So you have to identify the bone of contention. What is the problem that has caused the problem in Middle East for the past 70 years? The war is still going on. What is the problem? What is the issue? So you have to know all the issues that are involved that is causing the conflict. Then you determine the immediate action to be taken. What is the immediate situation? What can be done urgently to reduce the damages that may occur if you allow the conflict to escalate? So that's why whenever there is a strike, United Nations, when Iran strike America and Israel, what happened? The next day, United Nations call for a meeting. Do you understand? So that to checkmate and to make sure that the conflict does not escalate. Do you understand? So these are the issues. So what is the immediate? What is the immediate so that it cannot be escalated? So you put those immediate measures in place to make sure that it did not escalate. And then you look at the stage of the conflict. Where is the conflict? Is it stabilizing? Is it escalating? Or is it de-escalating? You have to know all of that at every juncture of the analysis. Then you look at the timing, right? You also look at the timing, right? At what time should you intervene? At what time is appropriate to intervene? See the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Many efforts were made to intervene to make sure the conflict is resolved. But possibly maybe it was not yet the right time. You understand? Because everybody is still uh, showing some kind of power and resistance here and there, and with the support of the allies and all of that. You understand? So these are the issue. Alternative and options for settlement. So there have been several opportunities to resolve conflict in the Middle East between Israel and the Palestinians. Yet those proposals that have been made, either Israel will not honor it or the Palestinian people refuse to honor it. So these are the issues. So it has been a problem all along. You understand? But provide alternative options for world settlement. Provide as many alternatives and so that people can consider and compromise here and there to achieve conflict. So these are the stages you use to conduct conflict analysis. So let's look at the conflict analysis tools now. Conflict analysis tool, we say, are tools that help you to you know have an in-depth understanding of the conflict, and we have several of them. One of the two that we have is root causes analysis. Root causes what? Analysis. Root causes analysis. So root causes analysis is refers to a methodological approach used to identify the underlying causes of problems or issues. So when conducting a root cause analysis, consider the following. Now, you have to identify the problem, collect data, and then you know examine and look at the data, evaluate the data, and then determine. But the essence of root cause analysis is to know what is really responsible for this conflict. If you want to fall a tree and you cut it in the middle, there's possibility that that tree will still sprout up and grow. Why? Because the root was not removed. The root was not removed. I told us here sometime, I think when we were doing alternative dispute resolution class, I told a student there that, see, for us in Nigeria, we are pretenders. We pretend as if everything is well. everything is just fine. But I can tell you for sure that we are all pretenders. Why do I say we are all pretenders? Because we have not achieved a true national reconciliation. We have fought war with each other for several years before we even became independent. Even when we were nationalities. Do you understand? When we're just on our own before the issue of colonialism came, and before now we put our heads together to gain our independence. And after independence, we were still fighting. Do you understand? Because before the colonial masters came, there we used to be fight, you know, between the different tribes and nationalities in the place, because there was nothing like Nigeria then, all right? So every people were just trying to survive and make sure that they protect their own territory. Do you understand? And so there are so many stories that are, so there were used to be war between one nationality to another, between one tribe, and we carry this attitude and enter with it into independence. And shortly after independence, there was a coup d'etat, and that has destroyed a lot of things. So, if we really want to solve the problem of Nigeria, we must have a true national reconciliation, which is which is one of the problems of the root causes of the conflict in Nigeria we're having today. The root causes. So we're talking about the root causes. So if I can tell you that Nigeria is a problem, if I want to tell you Nigeria is a problem and I want to itemize the root causes of Nigeria problems, then I will talk about the issue of, even in the terms of uh, land mass, land, mass of the country also must be adjusted. Okay, but maybe we'll say, okay, let's not talk about that one. We can let go. We'll go. But let me tell you, there's what we call structural imbalances. And those structural imbalances are the root cause of the problem. We must have every zone equally represented. But many zones have more representation than others. Why is it so? If states are to have 22 local governments, let all the states of the federation have 22 local governments. And it's going to be 45. Let all the states of the federation have 45 local governments. You understand? These are the root causes of Nigerian problem. If we don't know, for us to be able to address this problem of Nigeria, we must address it from the root. If we think corruption is the basic problem, which is also one of the challenges, but there are some things that we don't pay attention to it. But for us, as professionals in conflict resolution, it is a problem. You may look at it as it's a very simple minor issue. No, it's not a minor issue. As simple as the issue of reconciliation is, it is not a simple matter. If you doubt me, go and ask Nelson Mandela. If you doubt me, go and ask the Tuso and the people in Rwanda. They will tell you what it means: true national reconciliation. We must have it before we can achieve progress in this country. Do you understand? Otherwise, we'll continue to agitate and agitate. Anytime we begin to have crisis, they are calling for Duduwa, we are calling for Biafra, we are calling for Middle Belt, we are calling for Arua. Do you understand? That is what we are talking about in Nigeria, because true national reconciliation has not been taking place, and we have not had a national goal that unites the nation. No, we don't have. You understand? So lack of single vision is also a problem. And these are the root causes of the problem. Countries like Malaysia, countries like Singapore, they have a long-term plan, so that if any administration that comes in, you must continue on the legacies of the previous administration. You don't dare to introduce anything. Work on what they have. We have a long-term plan that will last for 25 years. Nobody should deviate from it. Maintain it until this period elapses before we think of what should be the new plans for the next 25 years or 30 years or 50 years, as the case may be. That's why they have a stable economy and development. Do you understand? That's it. Nigeria got independence alongside with them, but see where they have been. They are considered as developed nations while we are being considered as underdeveloped or developing nations. Do you understand? So these are the issues. So there are root causes that must be identified. So we say that when you are dealing with the issue of root causes, so you can see how a tree is. A tree has the branches, the stem, and the root. All right. So you look at the root, you look at the stem, you look at the root. So we say you have to identify the problem first, collect data, all right, analyze the data, identify possible causes. What are the possible causes? So narrowing down the causes, that is, you have to still streamline to know the what we consider as the core causes of the problem, and then identifying the root cause or causes, because it may be just one issue or it may be several issues contributing to what is happening. Then developing solutions. Then developing what solution? Brainstorm and evaluate possible solutions to address the root causes you have identified. So you come together and reason. Oh, the problem with us here is that it seems as if we identify which were our problems as a people. And then there was a national conference that was organized. Several regions represented. Come, let's reason together. Bring ideas. Let's solve problems. People bring great ideas. Government spends so much money on people that were discussing this matter. As you and I are here now, those beautiful ideas they articulated, had they been used? Maybe you answer it. Okay. So developing solutions means it requires brainstorming. It's not a one-man problem. Sure. Let everybody share ideas. Let's share ideas together. You understand? And then implementation and monitoring of the solution. You have to implement and monitor the solutions you have profiled. Agreed on the course of action to be taken. And if such course of actions are taken, are they going according to plan? Or are there deviations and variations here and there? Then, of course, if there are, then there will be a need for what we call you have to come and review. All right, you have to review, because in administration, in public administration, there's what we call implementation lag. That is the gap between the reality and what was planned. You understand? So when you look at the gap, you determine, so that will require you to go back and then do what you have to do again. You understand? So this is how it goes. So identifying the root causes of the problem is a major thing that you need to address in this issue. All right. I hope you are following me, and I hope you are understanding what we are saying here. So if you are understanding me, you can do way to share it with someone to also be part of this training. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. So now we are going to look at another tool. Tool number one we have discussed is what? Conflict analysis tool. Tool number two that we're going to discuss is called conflict mapping assessment. Conflict mapping assessment. All right. Conflict mapping assessment is another tool that we are going to consider here. Conflict mapping and assessment are essential tools or are essential tools used in conflict analysis and resolution to understand the dynamics of conflict, identifying key actors, interests, and relationships, and develop strategies for intervention. Now, what helps you, what this particular tool help you is to, you know, map out, like when we talk about map now, map of Nigeria, map of Africa, right? So it helps us to map out all the stakeholders involved in this conflict, identifying the main line of contention. Okay, let's take for instance, let me give you one example that may help you to understand this thing. I'll tell you, I'll just discuss on that example and then maybe you will get an understanding of what conflict mapping and assessment is all about. You see, let's take case study. Are you ready to take the case study? Let's look at the case study like this. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So maybe this is the conflict you want to analyze. You are asked to conduct an analysis on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine using the conflict mapping and assessment tool. Assuming this is the question that you are asked to address. So, what do you do? And how do you go about addressing this? There's what we call the circles. You know, there are circles. When we are mapping out conflict, we use circles. Do you understand? We use circles to map out the conflicts. Now, the bigger cycle means more power. The bigger the cycle, it means more power, more strength. The smaller the cycle, it means less power and less strength. Do you understand? That's what it means. And then there is also another shadows outside of this, of the areas we are trying to map out. Those ones are outside, it look like a triangle shape. Do you understand? So that one, we consider them the outside parties. They are not directly involved in this, but to some extent, they may have influence to this issue. Do you understand? Now, let's what I'm talking about. Let's now demonstrate it now. Let's take conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So, in this kind of case, you will discover that Russia will have the bigger cycle because Russia is bigger than Ukraine. It's more powerful than Ukraine. I get a point now. So Russia will have a bigger cycle compared to Ukraine. All right. So because and that is where the bone of contention is. The conflict is between Russia and Ukraine. You understand? So you draw two lines, and then in between those two lines, you do something like zigzag. All right, zigzag lines across the lines. That shows that there's a conflict. That's where there's a breakdown of relationship. All right, that's fine. So we have other, now let's look at Ukraine, let's look at Russia. Now, when we are talking about conflict mapping, you have to identify other stakeholders that are also interested in this conflict, that are directly supporting one party or of the other in the conflict. Now, let's look at Russia and Ukraine now. Who are the parties supporting Russia? That Russia may call them allies. Who are those countries? All right. You can agree with me that China is one of them. You can agree with me also that North Korea is one of them. Do you understand? Iran is one of them. Do you understand? Turkey is one of them. I get the point now. These are countries that are going with uh, with Russia, and of course South Africa. All right. So these are the countries that are supporting Russia. So we can say that Russia has good relationship because we are dealing with the usual relationship. We can say that Russia has good relationship with what? China, North Korea, um, Iran, South Africa, and Turkey, other allies. You understand? So that's it. So, and they are all behind Russia. Now, who are the allies of Ukraine? We'll talk about the NATO. NATO is there, but under NATO we have people. We have America, right? We have UK. We have other Western countries that are supporting Ukraine. Do you understand? So the countries under European, many of them are supporting Ukraine indirectly. Some are supporting directly, some are supporting indirectly. So this is how this thing is being done. So you identify all of these parties that are, supporting this. We call them the allies. Do you understand? So, and they have different relationships. For instance, now, and then of course we have those that are neutral. They don't have interest. Nothing concerns them. They are not on the side of anybody. Countries like Qatar, countries like United Emirates Arab, they don't have any interest, right? So that is Saudi Arabia. They don't have any interest. So those ones they are neutral, and these countries can, be best positioned to mediate or to intervene because they don't have so much interest in what is going on. Do you understand? So this is how conflict mapping is being done. So the bigger your cycle, the smaller. The powerful you are, and the smaller your cycle, the lesser your power. Do you understand? So that's how we categorize conflict mapping and then identify those two. So you have to identify all of those things: parties, issues, triggers, dynamics, and tools. You have to identify all of those things. All right. So after that, we have another tool that you are going to conduct. We call it the stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder what analysis tool. What does this tool does for you, and what is your interest here? Your interest here is to carry out the analysis of the various stakeholders involved in the conflict and determine their involvement. At what level are they involved? And this can help you to determine which of the stakeholders you should pay attention on. Let me give you a local scenario. There's a conflict between two clans in a local government, and one of these clans has its son or daughter who is somewhere in the city sending financial support, sending arms, sending and also even threatening fire, like someone is threatening some people right now. Do you understand? I don't want to mention anybody's name so that because some of you are friends of them, so that I will not come and provoke you and say, Kai, this training I will not be joining. They will just come and be criticizing people. So I don't want to call anybody's name. But there are some people that they say they will release fire. I did not mention anybody's name. Oh. Uh-huh. Although I'm in Abuja here, but I do not mention anybody's name. So nobody should come, no, nobody should come and arrest me that why were you calling my name? So I did not call anybody's name. Uh-huh. So we are on the same platform now. Let's move forward. So stakeholders analysis. Stakeholders analysis is a systemic process of identifying, assessing, and prioritizing stakeholders who are relevant to a project, decision, or conflict situation. Now, I was giving you a case study scenario, right? So, so one particular client has a daughter or a son who is in the city doing well. Maybe he's so even political position, so he's sending money, he's sending arms, and then the conflict is going on. It's continuing. Maybe the other group to have somebody that is supporting them, and then the conflict is fierce, destruction is going on. So, and then this is the conflict you want to intervene. And you want to carry out stakeholders analysis. You want to identify the parties involved in this conflict. Do you understand? So now we say that it helps you to prioritize the stakeholders. So this prioritize stakeholders, what does that mean? It means that now, as you are able to identify who are your stakeholders, all right, you now begin to prioritize which one you should concentrate and put in more effort to, meet and address issues. Is it the local people that are in the bush fighting, or the one in the city that is supplying arms, ammunition, finance, and whatever to support people to fight? Who among these two, or who between these two are you going to address? The ones in the village or the one in the city? So if you want to prioritize now, which one are you going to prioritize? The ones fighting the bush, or the one who is in the city sitting, sending arms, money, and every support the people in the bush needed? So I think you guess, by that explanation, you should understand what I mean now. So of course, the person in the city should be prioritized. So once you are able to identify such a person, your concentration should be on that person. So when you block the supply of resources, the supply of arm from that individual, automatically the conflict will die. When the day Nigeria was able to block the channels that Boko Haram was being sponsored, Boko Haram began to dematerialize and became a useless and wasted effort and all of that. Do you understand? Wasted lives and wasted opportunity. Do you understand? So that's what it means, because the channels that they were receiving resources were blocked, and of course they became weak, they became powerless, and they were, dispersed, and they now scatter, and they are doing some minor operation in some areas like the northwest, where they are terrorizing people in Zamfara state and other part of Katsina. Do you understand? State. So all of this. So this is what it is altogether. So stakeholders analysis. So when you are able to prioritize the parties involved, you'll be able to address the conflict quickly. So what are the key components here? First, identification. Identify all the individuals, all the stakeholders, groups that are involved in the conflict. Then carry out an analysis, interest. What is their interest? How much influence are they having on the conflict? What is the attitude? What's the relationship? You are going to look at all of those issues. And then, of course, prioritization, high influence, high interest. Because there are some people that have high influence and they also have high interest. The conflict that is going on in River State now, so if I say they talk too much, but it's not hidden, right? So, and we are here not to fear to talk about these things. We have to talk about them. So whether you are a supporter of somebody, or here you are in a place whereby we are neutral and we will say anything we want to say, so far as we are saying what is the truth. All right. So the conflict going on in River State now, who has high influence and high interest? You get the point now. So you prioritize them. So the governor and the minister, of course, they have high influence and high interest. Do you understand? So these are the first people, the minister and the governor. All of them have what? High interest, high influence, and high interest. Do you understand? So this is how you are going to prioritize. So if you want to resolve the conflict, it's between Fubara and Wiki. Do you understand? If we hold these two people, the conflict will subside. And of course, if we hold the one in Abuja, it will drastically die. So it's because it seems the fire that you talk about is now is releasing it small, 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 small. Do you understand? So this is what we're talking about here. So prioritize. All right. So high interest. Okay, high influence, low interest. High what? Influence, low interest. There are some people that have high influence, but they are not interested in what is happening in River State. If they like, let them kill themselves. It's none of my business. I'm not going to govern there. I'm not going to. What is my challenge? What's the issue? People like uh, that man. What is that his name? Clark. Uh, those they have so much influence, but low interest. You understand? And there are so many of them. Like Amechi, they have so much influence, but they are less concerned. Do you understand? Besides, was it not Fubara and Wicked that they were terrorizing him? So what is his business? Let them, if they like, let them fight and kill themselves. I have nothing concern me. But he has high influence. If you want to wave into this, despite the challenges of the relationship they have, if he still wants to do something, he can still do something. You understand? That's what I'm talking about. He has low interest, although high influence. I don't really understand what I'm trying to say here. So, stakeholders analysis. Then we'll talk about low influence, high interest, low influence, high interest. Also, we can talk about the appointees of the state government, and those ones, the their influence is not much, but they have high interest. Let's protect our government, and they should not come and stop our governors from working. We must work because they have interest. Because so far as the government continue, their job continue, and the appointment continue, and so money comes in. I get the point now. Low influence but high interest. So if Fubara was saying yesterday that the election is going to happen and let whatever want to happen happen, then this is what he meant. He will deploy all the commissioner and go to your area, mobilize people to make sure that we win this election. High interest, low influence. I get a point now. They may not be able to weigh much influence as compared to the other top notch that I have mentioned, like Amechi, if he wants to do something. Do you understand? But they also have their influence, but it's not compared to the other ones. Then we talk about low influence, low interest. There are people that are in that river state. One, they are not even interested in politics. Nothing concerns them. If they like, they burn themselves and do whatever they want to do. They are indigenous, so but nothing concerns them. One, they are not going to go out and vote. Two, they are not even going to. So what they concern them. So low influence, low interest, nothing concerned. They are not on the part of anybody. They will just tell you he's not politician. By the time they fight and they are tired, they will go and stay and eat on the same table. So what is my business? Low influence, low interest. You have to also identify those categories. And of course, this kind of category, you don't waste your time on them. You don't waste your time on people of low influence, low interest. How are you going to go and busy wasting time discussing with those people? So you have to go to people that have high influence and high interest. They are the ones that you need to address. Once you address them, the conflict will die. The conflict will be settled. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. So once you prioritize them, the matter is settled. So that is how it works. So now let's look at another one. Okay. Oh, I don't have much of them here, but let me just mention some of the conflict analysis tools that we did not cover in this material, but maybe they may help you in one way or the other. Maybe for those of you that may apply to become members of the institute, there's what we call the pre-induction training. Maybe in that training, we'll still talk about some of these conflict analysis tools so that you know some of them that I did not mention here. But of course, conflict mapping is here. And then we have what we call the root causes analysis. In that material, what you see there is what we call the conflict tree analysis. Conflict tree analysis. You understand? Then we have the pyramid. The pyramid is as same as the stakeholders analysis. Do you understand? The pyramid. And then we have what we call the onion tools, the onion or the donut tools. Why do we call it this? Is when this one it helps you in terms of negotiation. It helps at the point of negotiation so that the parties come into the negotiation table with different interests. That's why we call it the onion too, because the onion is in layers. Do you understand? So these interests of the parties are in layers. That's what they say. This is what we really want, and this is what is really our interest, and this is what is really our need. So you know that they can compromise their want, they can compromise their interest, but they cannot compromise their needs. So when the discussion and the negotiation reach the point of their need, no matter what you do for them to go down, they cannot change position. They say, sir, I cannot, if you like. And this, for those of you, let me give you a very local example. When you want to buy something in a provision store in your backyard, so far as you can negotiate and bargain with the seller, but so far as once he can give you as much discount as possible. But so once it reaches point of need, if you like, let it be 50 kobo, shorting 50 kobo, the person will not say it to you. You turn your back and be going and say, let me just go. He will call me back. He will not call you back. You will go and buy somewhere else. Do you understand? That's why it is. So that's negotiation for you. So we call that thing onion tools analysis. And then, of course, we have the ABC triangle. That is attitude, behavior, and context are also there to help you to understand conflict better. Are we together? All right, let's go to unit 2. Let's go to uh, unit. So this is the much we are going to take for today, but let me just give you the benefits of stakeholders analysis. What are the benefits of conducting stakeholders analysis using uh, this conducting stakeholders analysis, right? So one of the benefits is it improves decision making because it helps you to identify the stakeholders and prioritize them, and then make a decision which one you should, approach to address the problem. So enhance communication. It also enhance what communication by understanding stakeholders' interests and concerns. Organization can tailor their communication strategies to engage stakeholders effectively. You know, when the issue of the issue of conflict in River State, at some point, I think the president waved into the conflict. All right, invited the governor, come, let's discuss. But of course, the president was not the best person to mediate in that conflict. Sometimes we don't know some of these things. When that happen, they say, hey, Mr. President needs to intervene in this situation. It's not Mr. President. Mr. President has interest. How will you expect Mr. President to leave his own political ally, who is not just a political ally but a cabinet member, to go and support one governor who is in another party entirely? It was a sham effort, and they have been behaving like that. They are not in a good position to mediate at all, because they can be biased, and the biasness will be so much. And that's why he could not be able to resolve the conflict, because he, there were elements of biasness here and there. So the conflict subsists. Are you going on? The problem could not be resolved. President intervened, but he could not solve the problem because president himself has interest. So how can he resolve that conflict? Practically impossible. Except you don't meet a stubborn person like Fabra. But if we meet a stubborn person like him, may the hair lose. Nothing concerning. You understand? Risk medication. All right. Mitigation. Risk mitigation is also another benefit that you enjoy when you carry out conflict analysis. It helps you to reduce the risk of imagining from your inability to address a problem. So not engaging the right stakeholders. So it helps you to mitigate that risk. Then increase stakeholder engagement. Of course, you'll be able to interact with different stakeholders and see what is their concern, and then find a common solutions to them. So these are some of the benefits that this stakeholders analysis bring on board. You understand? So now you know some of these conflict analysis tools. Now, when next you have a conflict, don't just jump into uh, responding. Ask several questions. Conflict analysis has to do with asking the right questions. So when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers, and of course, it's a pointer to your solution. Do you understand? It's already a pointer to your solution. So whenever you have conflict, don't rush and don't. Sometimes we allow emotions to becloud our sense of reasoning, and of course, make us to even forget the fact that we need to, be sensible and be professional. Some of you here now, maybe you, as we finish this class now, maybe you join while you were still in your office or somewhere in town, and then maybe in the process of driving home, somebody brush you now. You see how you'll be vibrating. You forget the fact that you just finished a peace and conflict or peace and sustainable development class now, where we talk about the issue of how to resolve conflict, how to carry conflict analysis. You just use your annoyance and you use your emotions to have the best of you, and then your professionalism become questionable. Do you understand? So that's what it means. So I hope we have an understanding today. So when next you are asked to talk about conflict analysis too, or what is conflict analysis, I think you should be able to do better. And then maybe you should start approaching conflicts from different angles, from different dimensions, from different perspective, other than what you used to do. Some of you, as I'm talking to you now, some of us right in our homes, start from there. When they tell you when a child cry to you, hey, this somebody beat me. So you rush and beat the person before asking question. No, you first and foremost examine what happened that he beat you. You explain. You ask deeper. They will explain. You go and meet the other person and ask question. Do you understand? So that you don't rush beating. Some of you, when your child come from school and tells that my teacher beat me, oh, it's a war of Armageddon. The teacher has just invited a war of Armageddon. Do you understand? My daughter, you're telling me that our teacher have been beating her for like the other last week, beat her this week, beat her. So I told her that okay, she should not worry. I will give her a letter to go and give the teacher so that I will discuss with the teacher what that means when a child is not exposed to beating and you are beating. It means a lot of things. So I will educate the teacher and then bring the issue of conflict and peace, promoting peace in classroom as well, which is not necessarily beating. Do you understand? So these are some of the issues. And then some of those teachers they need what we call peace education. So we need to organize training for them. And sometimes you go there for them to give opportunity to organize such training for them. They may not, but many of them will give that opportunity. Do you understand? So we can train our teachers, let them know what they have been doing that is wrong. But some of us, when a child comes like that, we will be vibrating. Come and show me that teacher. I will teach her, I will teach him or her to know that yes, me, I am the master teacher. So, but I hope that next you have a situation, you address it from the professional angle. Forget about your emotions. Have control over your emotions. Go and do emotional intelligence course like we did it. We trained. That was our July training. Abi? No, August training. That was our August training. Emotional intelligence. Do you understand? So if you can, maybe next year we'll still organize a training on emotional intelligence because this year is already occupied. So you can take the training, have control over your emotions, and then you can address your issues seamlessly. You understand? That's why sometimes you see people deal with conflicting situation. You are telling that person is mature. Maturity. It's not maturity. He has control over his emotion, and of course that's maturity in a way. You understand? So thank you very much for joining and being part of today's training. You people made it to be worthwhile because when I look at people that join and I listen to what I'm saying, it makes a lot of sense. All right, and it gives me the passion to continue. So I want to thank you very much for also sacrificing your time, your energy. Some of you just came back from somewhere tired, but yet you have to be here so that you want to learn something. And I hope I did not waste your time anyway. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow by 7 p.m. We'll meet tomorrow by 7 p.m. So to continue from where we stopped. All right. So tomorrow we are going to look at. Okay, I will not announce the topic so that all of you will join. Thank you very much. Good night and happy Sunday in advance. But before I go, let me see if there are questions because I know some people will be asking me questions pertaining the exams that okay, it was even today that we said we were writing exam, but we have cancelled it until we finish our presentation on simulation before we write the exams. All right, thank you very much. Good night. Bye.